You are not born evil. That is the first lie the world tells about you. When people hear your name, they imagine darkness, judgment, the sound of iron gates closing forever. They think of death as a monster and assume the God who rules over it must be one too. They do not picture a brother. They do not picture a son. They do not picture a ruler who did not choose his kingdom so much as inherit what everyone else feared to touch. But that is what your life feels like from the inside. Not like evil, like exile, like being handed the coldest part of existence and then blamed for the temperature. 1. Born into a family at war. Before you are king of the dead, you are simply a child born into terror. Your father is Cronus, lord of a world built on paranoia. He has heard the prophecy. He knows one of his children will overthrow him. And because fear always makes tyrants stupid in the same way, he decides the answer is not wisdom, not love, not surrender. It is consumption. So when you are born, you are swallowed whole. No cradle, no lullaby, no mother's arms, only darkness. That is your first experience of existence. Not sunlight, not sky, but imprisonment inside your own father. Your siblings suffer the same fate. One by one, divine children disappear into the body of God, so terrified of losing power that he devours the future itself. If other gods are born into glory, you are born into negation. And when you're finally freed, when Zeus grows strong enough to force Cronus to disgorge what he stole, you do not step into a peaceful world. You step directly into war. The Titanomachy is not heroic from the inside. It is not a clean story of good overthrowing evil. It is chaos on a cosmic scale. Thunder breaks mountains. Oceans convulse. Heaven and earth tear at each other through the ambitions of immortal beings. And you fight in it. You fight beside your brothers and sisters. You endure. You help bring the old order down. You survive the kind of war that should have remade all of existence. And for one brief moment, it seems like victory will mean belonging. It does not. 2. The kingdom no one wanted. When the war ends, the world is divided. Zeus takes the sky. Poseidon takes the sea. And you get what is left. The underworld. It is always said so casually, as though the cosmos were sorted by simple function, as though your realm were just another domain. But from the inside, it does not feel equal. The sky is glory. The sea is power in motion. The underworld is silence, shadow, endings. The place where names arrive stripped of breath. No one envies you. No one celebrates your kingdom. They fear it instinctively, which means they begin to fear you too. And that is the cruel trick at the center of your life. You are not given dominion over evil. You're given responsibility over the inevitable. Every mortal life ends. Every hero, every mother, every king, every child, every poet, every coward, every conqueror eventually comes to your gates. Someone has to rule that place. Someone has to keep order where grief would otherwise become chaos. That someone becomes you. The dead arrive endlessly. Judges weigh their lives. Rivers divide the underworld into boundaries no mortal crosses lightly. Shades drift through fields of memory and forgetfulness. Punishments are carried out. Peace, when it exists, is a quiet and distant kind of peace. You do not create death. You organize what follows it. But mortals are simple in the way frightened creatures often are. They do not distinguish between the storm and the man who stands in it. They do not say, Hades governs the dead. They say, Hades is death. The fear settles onto your name and stays there. By then, Olympus has already begun to shine without you. 3. The god below while the gods above feast. This is the part no one writes songs about. Zeus rains in lightning, loud enough for every prayer to notice. Poseidon shakes the sea and makes sailors scream your brothers' names into the wind. Athena receives cities. Apollo receives music. Aphrodite receives desire. Even Ares, hated as he is, at least lives in the visible violence of men. You remain below. You are not absent. You're necessary, but necessity is not the same as affection. The gods above feast and light. They quarrel, flirt, boast, punish, reward. Olympus is noisy with ego. Your kingdom is built on order. If their world is spectacle, yours is administration. Endless, grave, thankless administration. The dead do not stop coming because you are lonely. The laws of the underworld do not bend because the sky forgets you. And over time, distance becomes identity. The other gods begin to feel like relatives seen too rarely, then like rivals, then like inhabitants of another species entirely. They live among storms and sunlight and human offerings. You live among endings. They are invoked at weddings, coronations, harvests, battles, voyages. You are invoked in whispers, curses, funerals, and desperate oaths. Even your wealth is misunderstood. The earth hides riches beneath its surface. Metals, gems, fertile secrets in dark soil. In that sense, you are not merely Lord of the dead, but Lord of what lies below. Yet even that abundance does not soften your image. To mortals, underground wealth still belongs to the same terrifying direction as graves. So your power grows, and so does your isolation. People fear entering your realm, but no one asks what it means never to leave it. 4. The Bride of Spring. Then comes the act that defines you in the mortal imagination more than almost anything else. You see Persephone, spring made flesh, light in motion, a daughter of the upper world, walking among flowers as if the world were young enough to remain innocent forever. And you, who have spent so long below that brightness has become almost theoretical, want what has never been yours. This is where your story becomes dangerous. Because longing, when carried too long in silence, can curdle into entitlement. Power can make desire feel like permission. And you are powerful enough to do what frightened hearts and unchecked kings have done since the beginning of time. You take, the earth opens, the chariot rises. The girl becomes a queen by force before she has chosen anything at all. From the outside, this is the proof everyone thinks they needed. Of course the god of the dead steals. Of course darkness cannot love without devouring. Of course the ruler below turns spring into morning. And yet, like everything in your life, the truth becomes more complicated as time hardens around it. Because Persephone does not remain only a victim in your kingdom. She changes. You change around her. The underworld, which once reflected only function, begins to hold presence. A queen sits beside the king. The realm of endings gains a figure tied to return, season, rhythm. She becomes not merely the stolen bride, but the one who can walk between worlds and force both heaven and earth to acknowledge the bargain. Still, the wound remains. Her mother mourns. The world withers in response. Winter enters myth as grief with agricultural consequences. Eventually, a compromise is struck, part of the year above, part below. And so even your great love becomes divided. That is your pattern. Even when you reach for companionship, it comes with shadow attached. Even when you gain a queen, you are remembered less as husband than abductor, less as ruler than thief. You are feared not only because you rule death, but because in the minds of mortals, you dragged beauty into it. 5. The justice no one wants to thank. And still, for all of that, your kingdom must run. This is the part of your life the world ignores because it is less dramatic than abduction and less glamorous than Olympus. But it may be the truest. You are a ruler of systems, a god of irreversible order. When mortals die, they come to you in truth. No army can fight its way back into breath. No wealth can bribe the grave. No beauty seduces away judgment forever. Before your gates, equality becomes brutal and complete. Kings arrive as shades. Beggars arrive as shades. Legends arrive stripped of applause. Few beings in existence deal so constantly with reality. That is why your punishments are remembered. Sisyphus with his stone, Tantalus with his hunger, Ixion with his wheel. The world points to these torments and says, look how cruel Hades must be. But punishment in your realm is rarely random. It is the architecture of consequence. Oath breakers, betrayers, the violently arrogant, those who abuse divine order and human trust. These do not merely die and vanish. Their lives are interpreted. Their crimes are made permanent symbols. You stand at the center of that machine, not always as the judge, but always as the sovereign whose kingdom makes judgment real. And because mortals fear accountability almost as much as they fear death, they fold both terrors into your image. You become the face of finality. The god everyone fears is, in many ways, simply the god no one can negotiate with. That is what makes you terrifying. That is also what makes you necessary. 6. Feared forever, understood by almost no one. By now, your legend is complete, and it is almost entirely wrong. To mortals, you are the Dark One, the one whose name should not be spoken lightly, the one beneath the earth, the one with the black chariot, the iron crown, the unseen throne, the one associated with tombs, curses, ghosts, buried treasure, and the terrible certainty that every life ends in your direction. But from the inside, your life is not a festival of cruelty. It is endurance. You inherited the realm no one wanted. You govern the destination no one blesses. You uphold the boundary every living creature secretly resents. And because of that, your reputation hardens into something almost impossible to undo. Zeus can rage and still be worshipped. Poseidon can destroy fleets and still be prayed to. Other gods may harm, deceive, manipulate, and humiliate mortals in broad daylight, yet retain shrines garlanded with devotion. You, by contrast, need only continue existing in your assigned role to become a symbol of dread. This is the loneliness at the center of being Hades. You are feared less for what you choose than for what you represent. Death has to belong to someone. Endings have to wear a face. The underworld has to have a king. And once that king is you, the world stops asking whether you are kind, fair, restrained, wounded, dutiful, isolated, or even capable of love. It asks only whether your gates can be delayed. They cannot. That is why your story lasts. Not because you're the loudest god, not because you are the most beloved, not because you conquer the heavens or seduce the world with sunlight. Your story lasts because every living thing eventually understands your existence, even if it hates the lesson. You are not merely the god below. You are the ruler of the truth no one escapes. And that is why they fear you. Because while other gods can be flattered, bargained with, or forgotten for a season, you remain waiting at the end of every road. Silent, patient, unblinking, not chasing the living, not begging for worship, not rising to prove yourself, only ruling what comes after. That is your life as Hades, not the life of a monster, not even the life of a villain, the life of a god handed the darkest necessity in existence, and hated for performing it too well.